Benjamin Anthony is the co-founder and CEO of Miriam Institute, former IDF combat reservist. He's joining us this morning, along with former CIA analyst Fred Fleitz. He served as the deputy assistant to President Trump and chief of staff of the National Security Council. Fred's currently the vice chair at the America First Policy Institute. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for being here. Let's talk about that. Let's start right out of the gate. First, let's start with the Secretary of War. He just wrapped up this Pentagon briefing. Let's listen to him.
2 U.S. commercial ships, along with American destroyers, have already safely transited the strait, showing the lane is clear. We know the Iranians are embarrassed by this. They said they control the strait. They do not. So American ships led the way, commercial and military, shouldering the initial risk from the front, as Americans always do. And right now, hundreds more ships from nations around the world are lining up to transit.
The message out of the Pentagon this morning, gentlemen, Iran's chief negotiator, meanwhile, is taunting the United States just a bit. War of words, really, here, and not too much more as of this morning. He said in this post, America can't tolerate the current situation in the strait, and he's warning, we have not even started yet. And Iran's foreign minister also talking this morning, calling Project Freedom Project Deadlock. Meanwhile, 2 ships have moved through, Benjamin. And you just heard in Jody's reporting, Israel and the United States are coordinating behind the scenes on potential strikes again.
Yeah, I think that people should make the very clear distinction between Iran's abilities and its bluster. This is something that the Western world and the free world has suffered from, this bluster, this bombast, this jingoism out of Iran, without Iran, thankfully, having the ability to implement its genocidal goals. Now, we've seen that in response to the transiting of these 2 commercial ships, the Iranians did launch attacks against the UAE. They were limited attacks, and the reason that they're limited is they do not want the Iranians to escalate and to bring about a situation whereby there is that sustained, accurate, incredibly damaging bombing campaign launched against their nuclear infrastructure and their ballistic missile infrastructure by Israel and America. Iran wants to avoid that. That is not what they say, but that's the reality.
They want to avoid it, yet you just heard in Jody's reporting, Fred, that talks are ongoing right now to re-engage militarily.
I think that is definitely on the table. I was so impressed by this press conference by Secretary Hegseth and General Kane. It could have been more timely. I think, people were sort of panicking yesterday that Iran was retaliating to this new operation by the U.S. to protect shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. But Hegseth and Kane made it clear that their attacks were fairly minor. We beat them back. It was below the level of the ceasefire violation. And frankly, we're hearing all this bluster, as your other guest said. But the Iranians don't have the military capability to back up their bluster. And really, Hegseth really reassured the American people today. I think this is going to lead to a big jump in the stock market.
Yeah, well, we're watching it closely. Going to open in about 20 minutes from now. CENTCOM, meanwhile, in tandem with this press briefing, these are images that they just dropped casually on X. CENTCOM pushing them out. The aircraft carrier H.W. Bush, 60 aircraft, you can see them right there, positioned right along the edges of that ship. The Navy is also sending out these messages in similar fashion. And again, in tandem with this briefing, to your point, Fred, this really powerful briefing. The message this morning, we are nimble. We're ready to go. Jody suggesting that Israel and U.S. coordinating very closely this morning. But Iran's attacks have increased as of yesterday. It handled, handled quickly, but they targeted UAE. A tanker, an oil facility, and this morning we're getting reports as well that they took 20 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, 4 drones. Their air defense system was able to handle those. Fred, why are they targeting the UAE?
Well, they see the UAE as an important ally of the United States, and they're trying to damage one of the wealthiest Gulf states in the region, which can't can't defend itself. But I think they're making a mistake. The UAE is a country where Iran had been doing its banking, where the Revolutionary Guard had been storing its money and paying its people. They've now alienated this extremely wealthy country, which is being able to defend itself with defenses provided by the United States. I just think Iran is digging itself great into a bigger and bigger hole. What I also think is significant is that the Speaker of the Iranian parliament publicly criticized these attacks by the Revolutionary Guard, which shows more disarray than the Iranian government.
Yeah, Benjamin, what do you make of that? There seems to be increasing dissension between the leadership in Tehran and the IRGC leaders.
Well, that's something that the Americans have believed would be the case, and something that under enough time and sufficient pressure would come to light. I'm very hopeful that it is doing. And I would just again reiterate the fact that the UAE has been targeted because it's deemed that it is unlikely they're able to defend themselves to the degree that Israel can. And the Iranians want to avoid escalation. They're testing the waters now. But Israel, I know, together with the Americans, stand ready to relaunch a campaign, if necessary, against Iran. Remember, we've gone a long way towards achieving the war goals. There's still more to do. This regime cannot be in possession of a nuclear weapon. Keep first principles atop our thinking.
I was also curious whether UAE's taking the end coming because they're threatening to pull out of OPEC, which certainly would further damage Iran.